In a quiet little town called Willow Creek, life moved at a slow and predictable pace. The people there were simple, living their lives with routines that rarely changed. Farmers worked in the fields during the day, children played in the streets, after school, and families gathered around dinner tables as the sun set behind the hills. At night, the sky above Willow Creek was often clear, dotted with countless stars that seemed to twinkle like tiny diamonds scattered across a dark canvas. It was peaceful, but one evening, everything changed. It started just after sunset when the first strange thing happened. A low hum filled the air, so faint that most people didn't notice it right away. Those who did thought it might be the wind or perhaps some distant machinery malfunctioning. But as the minutes passed, the sound grew louder, deeper, almost vibrating through the ground beneath their feet. People began stepping out of their homes, looking up at the sky with puzzled expressions. Something wasn't right. At first glance, the sky appeared normal, dark and speckled with stars. But then, something extraordinary occurred. The heavens themselves seemed to ripple, like water disturbed by a falling leaf. A soft glow spread across the horizon, pulsating gently, as if the fabric of reality was being stretched thin. Gasps echoed through the crowd as more and more residents poured into the streets, drawn by the eerie phenomenon unfolding above them. "What is that?" whispered Sarah, a young mother clutching her toddler tightly against her chest. Her husband stood beside her, his mouth agape, unable to form words. Nearby, an elderly man named Harold shook his head in disbelief. "I've never seen anything like this," he muttered, adjusting his glasses as though they might somehow clarify what he was witnessing. The glowing patch of sky continued to expand, growing brighter and more intense with each passing second. Then, without warning, the unthinkable happened. The sky split open. It wasn't a crack or a tear in the usual sense. It was as though someone had peeled back layers of existence itself, revealing something hidden beyond. Through the fissure came light, blinding, otherworldly light, and massive shapes began emerging from the void. They descended slowly, silently, casting long shadows over the town below. The objects were enormous, larger than skyscrapers, their metallic surfaces gleaming under the unearthly illumination. They looked like ships, but not any kind of ship anyone on Earth had ever seen. These vessels were sleek, yet imposing, bristling, with weapons and strange protrusions that glowed faintly. Their designs were alien, utterly unfamiliar and undeniably advanced. Each ship radiated power, exuding an aura of dominance that made even the bravest souls tremble. Panic erupted almost instantly. Some people screamed, others froze in place, too stunned to react. Children cried, tugging on their parents' sleeves, while pointing at the monstrous machines looming overhead. Cell phones clicked furiously as everyone tried to capture the moment, though the sheer scale of the event defied comprehension. Social media exploded within seconds, with videos and photos flooding platforms worldwide. Hashtags like sky splitting and dire alien invasion trended globally before anyone could fully grasp what was happening. But despite the chaos, there was also a strange sense of awe. For all the fear coursing through the crowd, many couldn't help but marvel at the spectacle before them. The ships were beautiful in their own terrifying way, their intricate details hinting at technologies far beyond human capability. And yet, no one dared approach them. Instead, the townsfolk kept their distance, watching nervously as the fleet positioned itself high above Willow Creek. As the initial shock wore off, questions began swirling in everyone's minds. Who or what was controlling these ships? Why were they here? Were they friend or foe? Speculation ran rampant. Some believed the ships belonged to aliens sent to conquer Earth, while others clung to hope that this was merely a scientific experiment gone wrong. A few conspiracy theorists even suggested it was a government project kept secret until now. No one knew for sure, and that uncertainty only heightened the tension. Meanwhile, authorities scrambled to respond. Local police officers attempted to maintain order, urging residents to stay calm and remain indoors. Fire trucks and ambulances lined the streets, ready to assist if needed. Military helicopters soon arrived, circling the area cautiously as soldiers surveyed the situation from a safe distance. Reporters flocked to Willow Creek, setting up cameras and microphones to broadcast live updates to millions of viewers glued to their screens. Despite the commotion, one observation stood out among the chaos. The ships weren't attacking. Not yet anyway. They simply hovered there, unmoving, as if observing the world below. This realization brought both relief and unease. If the aliens weren't here to destroy, then what was their purpose? What did they want from humanity? Back in Willow Creek, a group of amateur astronomers gathered near the edge of town, telescopes trained on the mysterious fleet. Among them was James Carter, a retired physics teacher with a passion for stargazing. He adjusted his telescope lens, peering intently at the nearest ship. After several moments, he noticed something peculiar. "They're scanning us," he announced, his voice tinged with excitement. "Look at the patterns. They're mapping the terrain." His companions leaned in closer, verifying his findings. Sure enough, faint beams of light periodically shot down from the ships, sweeping across the landscape below. It was methodical, precise, almost clinical. Whatever these beings were doing, it wasn't random. They had a plan, and Willow Creek was part of it. Word of this discovery quickly spread, sparking debates among experts and amateurs alike. Could it be that the aliens weren't invaders but explorers? Perhaps they were gathering data, studying Earth before making contact or deciding whether to make contact at all. The possibility ignited a mix of fear and curiosity. Humanity had always wondered about life beyond the stars, but now that question had become painfully real. For the people of Willow Creek, however, the immediate concern was survival. Sleep eluded them that night as they huddled together in basements and living rooms, listening to the hum of the ships above. Parents comforted frightened children, promising them everything would be okay, though deep down they weren't so sure. Outside, dogs howled at the unnatural presence in the sky, and crickets fell silent as if nature itself recognized the gravity of the moment. By dawn, the town was exhausted but alive with anticipation. Would the aliens reveal themselves today? Would they speak? Or would they vanish as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving behind only questions and nightmares? No one could say for certain. All they could do was wait and watch as the star destroyers loomed ominously overhead, their intentions still shrouded in mystery. And so the world held its breath, caught between wonder and dread. In Willow Creek, where it had all begun, the skies remained parted, a constant reminder that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Whether this revelation would bring salvation or destruction remained to be seen. But one thing was clear: life would never be the same again. As the sun rose over Willow Creek, casting golden light across the fields and rooftops, the alien fleet remained suspended in the sky. The ships hadn't moved since their arrival, but their presence was a constant reminder of the unknown. People woke up groggily, their minds heavy with exhaustion from the sleepless night. Conversations buzzed everywhere, on street corners and coffee shops, even at gas stations, as everyone tried to make sense of what had happened. Was this the beginning of an invasion? Or was there another explanation? News outlets around the globe were working overtime to cover the unfolding events. Reporters stationed in Willow Creek provided live updates, their voices tinged with both excitement and fear. "We still have no official statement from world leaders," one journalist said into her microphone, gesturing toward the massive ships hovering above. But experts are speculating that these could be extraterrestrial vessels. If true, this marks humanity's first confirmed encounter with intelligent alien life. The speculation didn't stop there. Scientists weighed in, offering theories about the ship's technology and possible intentions. Astrophysicists analyzed footage captured by drones and satellites, noting how the ships defied known laws of physics. "Their propulsion system is unlike anything we've ever seen," explained Dr. Elena Martinez, a renowned physicist speaking on a popular talk show. "It's not based on combustion or any traditional fuel source. My guess is they're using some form of advanced energy manipulation, possibly quantum-based." Governments scrambled to respond, convening emergency meetings to discuss strategy. Military forces mobilized, positioning troops and equipment near Willow Creek while fighter jets patrolled the skies. Yet, despite the heightened alert, the aliens made no aggressive moves. This lack of hostility puzzled military analysts. "If they wanted to attack, they could have done so already," remarked General Thomas Reed during a televised briefing. "The fact that they haven't suggests they're here for something else." While politicians and scientists debated behind closed doors, ordinary citizens grappled with their own emotions. Fear was rampant, but so was curiosity. Many couldn't help but wonder, what did these beings look like? How did they communicate? Did they see humans as equals, or as inferior creatures unworthy of attention? Social media exploded with memes, jokes, and heartfelt prayers, reflecting the wide spectrum of human reactions. Amidst the chaos, James Carter, the retired physics teacher, continued his observations alongside other amateur astronomers. Using telescopes and homemade devices, they meticulously documented every detail of the alien ships. Over time, patterns emerged. The beams of light emitted by the vessels weren't random. They followed specific trajectories, targeting key locations, such as power plants, communication towers, and water reservoirs. "They're mapping critical infrastructure," James concluded after hours of analysis. But why? His findings caught the attention of local authorities who invited him to share his insights with a team of government officials visiting Willow Creek. At first, James felt out of place among the suits and uniforms, but his knowledge earned him respect. He presented his data clearly, explaining how the aliens seem to prioritize gathering information over causing harm. "It's almost like they're preparing for something bigger," he suggested cautiously. This theory gained traction when reports surfaced of similar sightings worldwide. In cities across Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America, people claimed to have witnessed strange lights in the sky accompanied by identical ripples in the atmosphere. Some described smaller ships descending briefly before vanishing again, leaving behind no trace except faint scorch marks on the ground. It became clear that Willow Creek wasn't the only target. The entire planet was under observation. Despite the mounting evidence, skepticism persisted. Skeptics argued that the phenomenon could be explained by natural causes, such as atmospheric disturbances or secret military experiments. Others accused governments of orchestrating a hoax to distract from pressing issues like climate change or economic inequality. Conspiracy theories ran wild, fueled by misinformation and distrust. But then came the breakthrough that silenced doubters. Late one evening, a group of researchers in Australia successfully intercepted a transmission emanating from one of the alien ships. The signal was complex, composed of mathematical sequences and pulsating frequencies, unlike anything heard before. When decoded, it revealed coordinates pointing to a remote region of Antarctica. Within hours, international teams converged on the location, braving sub-zero temperatures to investigate. What they found astonished them. Buried beneath layers of ice lay the remnants of an ancient structure, a monolith carved with intricate symbols glowing faintly in hues of blue and green. Carbon dating placed its age at over 10,000 years, predating recorded human history. Further analysis indicated the material wasn't native to Earth. It bore properties consistent with elements found in distant star systems. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't encountering aliens for the first time. It was reconnecting with a civilization that had visited long ago. Back in Willow Creek, news of the discovery spread quickly, sparking renewed interest in the alien fleet. People began piecing together connections between the ships and the Antarctic artifact. Could the visitors be returning to reclaim something left behind millennia earlier? Or had they come to warn humanity about an impending threat? Theories multiplied, each more intriguing than the last. One particularly compelling idea emerged from a young astrophysics student named Maya Patel. Studying the mathematical patterns embedded in the intercepted transmission, she noticed recurring motifs resembling binary code. When translated, the message read, "Prepare, they are coming." Though cryptic, the warning sent chills down spines. Who were they? And why should humanity prepare? Maya's findings reached the ears of Dr. Elena Martinez, who immediately recognized their significance. Together, they collaborated with linguists and cryptographers to decipher further details hidden within the transmission. Meanwhile, governments ramped up efforts to establish communication with the aliens directly. Diplomats drafted messages of peace, broadcasting them via radio waves and laser pulses in hopes of eliciting a response. Days turned into weeks, and still, the ships loomed silently above Willow Creek. Patience wore thin as tensions mounted. Protesters gathered outside military bases, demanding answers and action. Religious groups held vigils, praying for divine intervention. Entrepreneurs capitalized on the hysteria, selling merchandise emblazoned with slogans like, "Aliens are here," and "Welcome to the New World Order." Yet amidst the turmoil, moments of unity emerged. Neighbors helped one another cope, sharing supplies and stories late into the night. Schools organized educational programs to teach students about space exploration and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Churches, mosques, and temples opened their doors to anyone seeking solace, emphasizing themes of hope and resilience. In Willow Creek itself, the community rallied together in unexpected ways. Local farmers donated fresh produce to feed volunteers, monitoring the skies day and night. Artists painted murals depicting the alien ships alongside symbols of peace and cooperation. Even skeptics softened their stance, acknowledging that whatever was happening, it transcended personal beliefs and biases. Then, just when despair threatened to overshadow hope, the aliens finally acted. One morning, residents awoke to find a smaller vessel detached from the main fleet, descending gracefully toward an open field on the outskirts of town. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting sunlight in dazzling patterns. As it touched down, a low hum resonated through the air, vibrating deep within chests. Curiosity outweighed fear as crowds gathered at a safe distance, watching intently. From the ship emerged figures unlike anything imagined. Tall and slender, their bodies glowed faintly, exuding an ethereal quality. Large, almond-shaped eyes dominated their faces, radiating intelligence and calm. They moved with deliberate grace, carrying devices emitting soft melodic tones. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd as the beings approached, raising their hands in a gesture of peace. Through a device strapped to one of their wrists, a voice spoke haltingly in fragmented English. "We mean no harm. We are Lumari." Though hesitant, humanity listened. For the first time, answers seemed within reach. But as the Lumari began explaining their mission, it became clear that the situation was far more dire and extraordinary than anyone could have anticipated. The moment the Lumari stepped out of their vessel, the world collectively held its breath. Their presence was both mesmerizing and unsettling, a blend of beauty and otherworldliness that defied human comprehension. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, their slender frames shimmered faintly as if their skin were made of liquid light. Large, luminous eyes dominated their faces, exuding an intelligence that seemed to pierce through every soul in Willow Creek. Though they moved with deliberate calm, there was an undeniable tension in the air, a mix of awe, fear, and curiosity. Through the device on one of their wrists, the Lumari began speaking in halting, fragmented English. "We are not your enemy," the voice said, soft yet resonant. "But time is short." These words sent ripples of confusion and alarm through the crowd. What did they mean by "time is short"? Were they here to warn humanity of some impending catastrophe? Or had their arrival already set something irreversible into motion? As the initial shock wore off, people began inching closer, straining to hear more. Soldiers stationed nearby tightened their grips on their weapons but remained cautious, unsure whether to intervene. Journalists furiously scribbled notes or adjusted camera lenses, capturing every detail for the billions watching worldwide. The Lumari, however, paid little attention to the commotion around them. Instead, they focused on communicating their message using gestures and simple phrases to bridge the language gap. "We have been tracking a threat," one of the beings continued. pausing frequently as though translating thoughts mid-sentence. A species known as Vracs. They consume worlds, leave nothing behind. The weight of these words hit like a thunderclap. Humanity wasn't dealing with just one alien race. It was caught between two, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The Lumari explained further, their tone urgent yet measured. According to them, the Vracs were a ruthless, highly advanced species that traveled across galaxies, stripping planets of resources before moving on to the next target. Entire civilizations had fallen victim to their insatiable hunger, leaving barren wastelands in their wake. The Lumari themselves had been hunting the Vracs for centuries, trying to stop their destructive path. Now, after years of tracking, they had discovered that Earth was the Vracs' next destination. This revelation sparked panic among the townsfolk. Murmurs erupted as people processed the implications. "They're coming here?" someone shouted, their voice trembling. "When?" another asked, gripping the arm of a neighbor. The Lumari hesitated before responding. "Soon. Days, perhaps. Weeks. We do not know exactly." For many, this news felt like a death sentence. How could humanity possibly stand against such a formidable foe? The Lumari's star destroyers may have been impressive, but even they admitted they couldn't face the Vracs alone. That's when they revealed the real reason for their visit. They needed humanity's help. At first, the idea seemed absurd. What could humans, with their comparatively primitive technology, contribute to a battle against intergalactic conquerors? But the Lumari patiently explained. Earth's resources, its minerals, energy reserves, and most importantly, its resilience, were valuable assets. By working together, they believed they could fortify the planet's defenses and prepare for the inevitable confrontation. It wouldn't be easy, and success wasn't guaranteed. But it was the only chance Earth had. The announcement left the crowd divided. Some embraced the challenge, inspired by the prospect of standing alongside these celestial guardians. Others recoiled in fear, convinced that resistance was futile. Arguments broke out as emotions ran high. "We should fight," yelled a young man, pumping his fist in determination. "If we don't try, we're already dead." Across from him, an older woman shook her head vehemently. "And what happens if we lose? They'll destroy us anyway." Amidst the chaos, leaders from various nations convened via video conference to discuss the situation. Military strategists, scientists, and diplomats debated fiercely, weighing the risks and benefits of collaboration with the Lumari. Skeptics argued that trusting aliens, even ones claiming to be allies, was reckless. Supporters countered that refusing their aid would leave humanity defenseless. After hours of deliberation, a decision was reached. Earth would join forces with the Lumari. It wasn't unanimous, but it was the best option available. Back in Willow Creek, preparations began almost immediately. The town became ground zero for humanity's efforts, transforming overnight into a bustling hub of activity. Engineers, technicians, and volunteers poured in from all over the globe, eager to contribute. Factories repurposed machinery to assist the Lumari in upgrading Earth's weaponry. Farmers donated food and supplies to support the influx of workers. Even children pitched in, helping organize materials and spreading messages of hope throughout the community. One of the most remarkable aspects of this effort was the unprecedented level of cooperation. Nations that had once been bitter rivals now worked side by side, setting aside differences for the greater good. Scientists shared proprietary research without hesitation, knowing that secrecy could cost lives. Ordinary citizens rallied together, forming networks to ensure no one was left behind. For the first time in history, humanity truly acted as one. James Carter, the retired physics teacher who had played a key role in analyzing the Lumari's behavior, found himself at the center of the operation. His expertise earned him a spot on the advisory team, tasked with coordinating human efforts with the Lumari's plans. Though overwhelmed by the responsibility, James approached the task with humility and determination. "If we can learn anything from this," he told a group of volunteers during a briefing, "it's that survival isn't about strength or wealth, it's about unity. And that's something we finally realized. The Lumari, too, proved invaluable allies. Despite their alien nature, they demonstrated remarkable patience and empathy, taking the time to understand human customs and concerns. They shared fragments of their culture, art, music, and stories that hinted at a civilization far older and wiser than humanity's. Through these exchanges, bonds formed, bridging the vast chasm between species. But not everything went smoothly. Misunderstandings arose frequently, often stemming from fundamental differences in communication styles. Humans relied heavily on verbal language, while the Lumari favored telepathic cues and subtle gestures. This led to moments of frustration, where intentions were misinterpreted or instructions unclear. Yet each hurdle served as a learning opportunity, strengthening the partnership bit by bit. As days passed, tangible progress emerged. Under the guidance of the Lumari, engineers developed hybrid technologies combining human ingenuity with alien advancements. Weapons capable of piercing the Varax's shields took shape in makeshift factories. Defense systems designed to protect major cities came online, powered by energy sources previously thought impossible. Every breakthrough brought renewed hope, fueling the belief that victory might actually be within reach. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens adapted to their new reality. Schools taught lessons about the Lumari and the impending threat, preparing students for what lay ahead. Religious leaders incorporated themes of unity and perseverance into sermons, encouraging congregations to find strength in faith. Artists created murals and sculptures depicting humanity's alliance with the Lumari, symbols of defiance and resilience etched into public spaces. In Willow Creek, the transformation was especially profound. Once a quiet, unassuming town, it now stood as a beacon of hope. Residents took pride in their role, knowing they were part of something bigger than themselves. Neighbors who had barely spoken before became close friends, united by a shared purpose. Strangers arriving from distant lands were welcomed warmly, treated as family rather than outsiders. Yet, beneath the surface, fears lingered. No one knew, for sure, how the battle would unfold, or if Earth could survive. Nightmares plagued sleepless minds, visions of destruction haunting those brave enough to imagine the worst. Still, they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that giving up wasn't an option. Then one evening, a signal arrived. Detected by satellites orbiting Earth, it originated from deep space, pulsating with ominous intent. The Lumari identified it instantly. The Varax were coming. Calculations estimated their arrival within days. Tension skyrocketed as final preparations kicked into overdrive. Supplies were stockpiled, evacuation routes mapped, and last-minute strategies reviewed. On the eve of the expected invasion, the Lumari addressed the people of Willow Creek once more. Standing atop a makeshift stage erected in the town square, they spoke with unwavering resolve. "You are stronger than you think," they said, their voices resonating deeply. "Together, we can prevail. Trust in yourselves, trust in each other, and trust in the bond we have forged." Their words struck a chord, igniting a fire within everyone present. Applause erupted, followed by cheers and chants of solidarity. For a brief moment, fear gave way to courage. Humanity wasn't alone anymore. United with the Lumari, they faced the unknown with hearts full of determination. As the crowd dispersed, returning to their homes and posts, the night sky above Willow Creek glowed faintly, illuminated by the looming star destroyers. Beyond them, somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the Varax fleet drew closer. The countdown had begun. Whatever happened next would determine the fate of Earth, and perhaps the Yunnan. The day the Varax fleet arrived, the world seemed to hold its breath. The skies above Willow Creek darkened unnaturally, as if the sun itself had been swallowed by an invisible force. People huddled in shelters, their faces pale with fear, clutching loved ones or prayer beads, depending on what gave them solace. Soldiers stood at their posts, gripping weapons that suddenly felt woefully inadequate against the looming threat. The Lumari's star destroyers hovered protectively above the town, their metallic surfaces gleaming ominously under the dim light. Everyone knew this was it. the moment they had prepared for but secretly dreaded. When the Vraks finally emerged, from the depths of space, their presence was nothing short of apocalyptic. Their ships dwarfed even the colossal vessels of the Lumari, resembling jagged mountains carved out of black obsidian. Each ship bristled with weaponry, spikes and cannons that glowed with a menacing red hue. They moved with terrifying precision, forming a ring around Earth's atmosphere as though sizing up their prey. The sheer scale of their fleet sent shivers down spines. Humanity's combined military might looked like child's play in comparison. As the two alien forces locked into position, the tension became unbearable. In Willow Creek, families gathered around radios and televisions, listening to live updates from reporters who sounded just as frightened as everyone else. "This is it," one journalist whispered hoarsely into her microphone, her voice cracking under the weight of the moment. "The battle for Earth's survival begins now." It started with a single blast, a searing beam of energy fired from one of the Vraks' ships. It struck a Lumari destroyer head-on, sending shockwaves rippling through the air. The impact lit up the horizon like a second sunrise, blinding in its intensity. For a moment it seemed as though the Lumari vessel might crumble under the assault. But then something incredible happened. The ship absorbed the energy, redirecting it outward in a dazzling display of counterforce. Cheers erupted across Willow Creek as people realized the Lumari weren't going down without a fight. What followed was chaos on a cosmic scale. Lasers streaked across the sky, painting the heavens with trails of fire. Explosions illuminated the darkness, their thunderous booms shaking the ground beneath everyone's feet. The Vrak ships unleashed wave after wave of attacks, their weapons tearing through the atmosphere with devastating accuracy. Yet, the Lumari fought back with equal ferocity, their advanced technology proving to be a match for the invaders' brute strength. Ships clashed mid-air, spinning wildly before exploding into bursts of light that momentarily blinded anyone watching below. Amidst the destruction, humanity played its part. Ground-based defenses, developed in collaboration with the Lumari, roared to life. Anti-aircraft missiles launched from hidden bunkers targeting vulnerable points on the Vraks' ships. While most of the projectiles failed to penetrate the enemy's shields, a few managed to land critical hits, causing minor damage, but boosting morale nonetheless. Engineers worked tirelessly to recalibrate the systems, adjusting frequencies based on real-time data provided by the Lumari. Every successful strike was celebrated as a small victory, a reminder that humanity wasn't entirely helpless. In Willow Creek, the townsfolk contributed in ways big and small. Volunteers manned communication hubs, relaying messages between soldiers and scientists. Farmers used their tractors to transport supplies to makeshift command centers. Even children pitched in, helping organize food and water for exhausted workers. The sense of purpose was palpable, driving everyone forward despite the overwhelming odds. But the battle wasn't just happening in the skies. It was being waged on multiple fronts. Cybersecurity teams scrambled to fend off digital assaults, launched by the Vraks, whose hacking capabilities were as formidable as their physical weapons. Power grids flickered dangerously close to failure, forcing technicians to improvise solutions on the fly. Medical teams treated wounded soldiers and civilians alike, working around the clock to save lives. It was a war fought not only with lasers and missiles but also with ingenuity, resilience, and sheer willpower. As the hours dragged on, the tide began to shift, not in humanity's favor, but toward the Vraks. Despite their best efforts, the Lumari were outnumbered and outgunned. One of their largest ships took a direct hit, spiraling out of control before crashing into the ocean with a deafening roar. The loss sent waves of despair rippling through Willow Creek. If the Lumari fell, Earth would be defenseless. Fear gripped hearts once again, threatening to undo all the progress they had made. Then, amidst the carnage, a spark of hope emerged. A young engineer named Maya Patel, who had been working tirelessly alongside the Lumari, noticed something peculiar about the Vraks command ship. Unlike the other vessels, which relied heavily on external firepower, this one emitted a steady hum, a signal she recognized from earlier transmissions intercepted during the initial contact. Her eyes widened as realization dawned. "That's their central hub," she exclaimed to her colleagues. "If we can disable it, we might cripple their entire fleet." Her idea was met with skepticism at first. How could a single human possibly infiltrate an alien warship? But Maya refused to give up. Drawing inspiration from the Lumari's hybrid technologies, she devised a daring plan. Using a modified drone equipped with adaptive algorithms, she intended to hack into the VRAC system remotely. The task was risky and required pinpoint precision, but it was their only chance. With the support of the Lumari, Maya set her plan into motion. She positioned herself in a secure bunker, surrounded by monitors displaying real-time feeds of the battlefield. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, inputting lines of code faster than anyone thought possible. Sweat dripped down her face as she navigated layers of alien encryption, each step bringing her closer to the heart of the VRAC's network. Outside, the battle raged on, oblivious to the quiet heroism unfolding in the shadows. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Maya broke through. The screen flashed green, a sign that the connection had been established. With trembling hands, she initiated the virus program designed to disrupt the VRAC's command ship's core systems. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly but surely, cracks began to form in the enemy's defenses. Shields faltered, weapons misfired, and communication channels collapsed. The VRAC's fleet, once a seamless machine of destruction, descended into disarray. Seeing their advantage slipping away, the VRACs attempted to retreat, but the Lumari seized the opportunity, launching a coordinated assault that pushed the invaders further back. Ship after ship exploded in fiery bursts, lighting up the night sky like a twisted fireworks display. The cheers that erupted from Willow Creek were deafening, echoing across the fields and hills. Against all odds, humanity, and their newfound allies had turned the tide. When the dust settled, the survivors emerged cautiously from their shelters. The sky, once filled with death and destruction, now stretched wide and clear above them. The Lumari's star destroyers still hovered protectively, their glowing surfaces reflecting the rising sun. Below, people embraced one another, tears streaming down their faces as relief washed over them. They had won, or at least survived, but the cost had been immense. Maya Patel became an instant legend. Though she shied away from the spotlight, her actions didn't go unnoticed. General Thomas Reed personally thanked her, calling her the unsung hero of this war. Reporters clamored for interviews, eager to capture her story for posterity. But Maya simply smiled, deflecting praise onto the collective effort that had made victory possible. "We did this together," she said softly. "Every person who contributed, no matter how small their role, helped save the world today." The Lumari, too, expressed their gratitude. Through their translator devices, they addressed the people of Willow Creek, their voices filled with admiration. "You have shown courage beyond measure," they said. "Your spirit will inspire generations to come." They promised to assist in rebuilding what had been lost, offering advanced technology to heal the planet's wounds. More importantly, they vowed to remain vigilant, ensuring that the VRACs would never threaten Earth again. In the days that followed, life began to return to normal, or as close to normal as it could get after such an ordeal. Cleanup crews worked tirelessly to repair damaged infrastructure, while scientists studied the remnants of destroyed VRAC ships for clues about their origins. Schools reopened, churches held services of thanksgiving, and farmers returned to their fields, planting seeds of hope for the future. For the people of Willow Creek, the experience left an indelible mark. They had faced annihilation and emerged stronger because of it. Bonds forged in the heat of battle grew deeper, transcending differences of race, religion, and nationality. Humanity had learned a valuable lesson. When united, it was capable of achieving the impossible. As the weeks turned into months, stories of the great battle spread far and wide. Books were written, documentaries filmed, and monuments erected to honor those who had fought and fallen for Earth's survival. Yet, for all the fanfare, the true legacy of that fateful day lay not in grand gestures but in the quiet resolve of ordinary people who had risen to meet extraordinary challenges. And so, as the stars twinkled brightly in the night sky, humanity looked upward not with fear but with wonder. The universe was vast and full of myths. The aftermath of the battle left Earth forever changed. The scars of war were visible everywhere: burnt fields, crumbling buildings, and skies that still carried faint traces of ash from explosions. Yet, amidst the destruction, there was a profound sense of renewal. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged victorious, not through brute force but through unity, ingenuity, and collaboration with beings from another world. In Willow Creek, where it all began, life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, though nothing would ever truly be the same again. In the weeks following the Vrak's retreat, the Lumari stayed close, overseeing recovery efforts and sharing their knowledge freely. They introduced advanced technologies capable of healing the planet's wounds, machines that purified polluted rivers, devices that accelerated crop growth, and systems that harnessed clean energy from the sun and stars. These innovations transformed communities overnight, providing solutions to problems humanity had struggled with for decades. Farmers in Willow Creek marveled as barren lands became fertile once more. Engineers studied alien blueprints to build infrastructure stronger than anything they'd imagined before. But the Lumari's contributions extended beyond technology. Their presence sparked a cultural renaissance unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Art galleries displayed works inspired by the Lumari's ethereal designs, blending human creativity with alien aesthetics. Musicians composed symphonies incorporating the haunting melodies emitted by Lumari instruments. Schools revised curriculums to include lessons on interstellar diplomacy, cosmology, and the ethics of coexistence. For the first time, humanity looked outward instead of inward, embracing its place in a vast interconnected universe. The bond between humans and the Lumari deepened as well. Once viewed with suspicion, the aliens were now welcomed as friends and allies. People invited them into their homes, eager to learn about their culture and share their own traditions. In return, the Lumari offered glimpses into their history, a civilization thousands of years old shaped by both triumphs and tragedies. Stories of their ancestors' struggles against the Vraks resonated deeply with humans, reminding them that courage and resilience transcended species. One evening, under a sky filled with twinkling stars, the Lumari held a ceremony in Willow Creek to honor those who had fallen during the battle. It was a solemn yet beautiful event, attended by people from all walks of life. Rows of candles flickered softly, casting golden light across faces etched with grief and gratitude. The Lumari spoke in their melodic tones, their words translated into English by the wrist devices they wore. "We mourn with you," they said, "and we celebrate with you. Together we have proven that hope can conquer despair." As the ceremony concluded, an elderly man named Harold approached one of the Lumari leaders. He had been skeptical of their intentions at first, dismissing them as invaders or opportunists. But witnessing their actions and the sacrifices they made alongside humanity had changed his perspective entirely. With tears in his eyes, he reached out hesitantly, unsure if physical contact was appropriate. To his surprise, the Lumari gently clasped his hand, their glowing skin radiating warmth. No words were exchanged, but the moment spoke volumes. The impact of the battle rippled far beyond Willow Creek. News outlets broadcast stories of heroism and sacrifice, highlighting individuals whose actions had turned the tide. Maya Patel, the young engineer whose quick thinking had crippled the Vrak's command ship, became a global icon. Invitations poured in from universities, governments, and organizations seeking her expertise. Yet, true to her nature, she remained humble, often deflecting praise onto her team. "I didn't do this alone," she reminded audiences during interviews. "Every person played a role, whether they realized it or not." Her message resonated deeply, inspiring countless others to step up and contribute to rebuilding efforts. Students pursued careers in science and engineering, Driven by dreams of exploring space and protecting Earth, artists created murals depicting scenes from the battle, immortalizing moments of bravery and camaraderie. Even skeptics who had doubted the existence of aliens found themselves drawn into conversations about humanity's future among the stars. World leaders also took heed of the lessons learned. Gone were the days of petty rivalries and divisive politics. Nations worked together like never before, pooling resources and expertise to tackle challenges ranging from climate change to poverty. Treaties were signed, agreements forged, and barriers broken down, all in the spirit of cooperation exemplified by the alliance with the Lumari. For the first time in history, humanity stood united, not just as citizens of individual countries but as inhabitants of a shared planet. Yet, despite these strides, questions lingered. What lay ahead for Earth? Would the Lumari stay indefinitely, or would they eventually depart, leaving humanity to fend for itself once more? And what of the Vraks? Though defeated, they remained a looming threat, their motives and origins still shrouded in mystery. Scientists pored over data recovered from destroyed ships, hoping to uncover clues that might prevent future conflicts. Meanwhile, military strategists collaborated with the Lumari to strengthen Earth's defenses, ensuring readiness for whatever came next. For the Lumari, staying on Earth posed its own challenges. While many humans embraced them warmly, others remained wary, clinging to fears rooted in ignorance or prejudice. Conspiracy theories resurfaced, accusing the Lumari of harboring ulterior motives or secretly controlling governments. Some extremist groups even called for their expulsion, arguing that reliance on alien aid weakened humanity's independence. The Lumari handled such accusations with patience, understanding that trust took time to build. To address these concerns, they initiated programs aimed at fostering mutual understanding. Cultural exchange events brought humans and Lumari together, encouraging dialogue and dispelling myths. Educational initiatives taught children about the importance of diversity, not just among people but among species. Slowly but surely, skepticism gave way to acceptance and fear transformed into friendship. Back in Willow Creek, life continued to evolve. The town had become a symbol of hope and resilience, attracting visitors from around the world eager to see the place where humanity's fate had been decided. Memorials were erected to commemorate the battle, each bearing inscriptions written in both English and the Lumari's intricate script. Tour guides led groups through fields where star destroyers once hovered, recounting tales of courage and sacrifice with pride. Among the townsfolk, a quiet determination persisted. They knew better than anyone that peace wasn't guaranteed. It had to be earned and protected. So they carried on with their lives, cherishing every moment while preparing for whatever challenges lay ahead. Farmers tilled soil enriched by alien technology, teachers educated students about the wonders of the cosmos, and families gathered around dinner tables, sharing stories passed down from generation to generation. Years later, when Priya Carter, the newborn daughter of James Carter and his wife, grew old enough to ask questions, she learned about the battle that had defined her hometown. Her father sat beside her, flipping through photo albums filled with images of star destroyers, Lumari, delegates, and cheering crowds. "This is your legacy," he told her, pointing to a picture of Maya Patel standing beside a Lumari leader. "Never forget how far we've come, and how much farther we can go." By then, Earth had taken its first steps toward becoming a galactic power. Under the guidance of the Lumari, humanity launched its inaugural spacecraft, designed to explore nearby star systems. Pilots trained rigorously, scientists developed tools for studying alien ecosystems, and diplomats crafted protocols for peaceful encounters. The dream of venturing beyond Earth's borders was no longer confined to science fiction. It was reality. As the spacecraft lifted off, carrying representatives from every corner of the globe, millions watched live broadcasts, holding their breath as it disappeared into the void. Among them was Maya Patel, now a senior advisor to the program. She smiled faintly, remembering the young girl who used to gaze at the stars and wonder if anyone was out there. Today, she knew the answer, and so did the rest of humanity. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, There would be obstacles, dangers, and unknowns lurking in the darkness of space. But for the first time, Earth faced them not with fear, but with confidence. United with allies like the Lumari, humanity had proven that even the smallest light could shine brightly against the vastness of the universe. And so, as the spacecraft ventured deeper into the cosmos, Earth looked upward with hope. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now felt closer than ever. Humanity had found its place among them, not as conquerors or bystanders, but as explorers, dreamers, and guardians of a fragile yet resilient planet. The battle against the Vraks had been won, but the story of Earth's ascension was only beginning.